Hello everyone, my name is Robert. I do documentation at Canonical, and in this short talk I want to talk about a project that we have started about a year and a half ago that is really meant to make it easier, make it simpler for people who have never really been involved with open source to get their hands dirty, try to contribute, and sort of get their foot in the door. So what I'm going to cover. First of all, what was the motivation, why we started even thinking about that? Then how we go about it. Then sort of a reflection from the organizers, what we have learned. And finally, I'm going to invite you all to get involved as well. So about the motivation. It's not really a new concept that documentation would be a good or a simpler way to get involved in contributing to open source. But the environment can still feel a little intimidating. Some people may be apprehensive, they may feel that they don't have enough experience, and so on. So we wanted to make it really, really simple and very inviting so that everyone would feel welcome. And we also wanted to provide that, that sort of a fundamentals, basics for people so that there would be, lots of encouragement and that the environment would feel like, it's really like a, cozy, friendly atmosphere. And because all of us who have been involved in one way or another are involved with documentation as well, then we also recognize that there's whole lots of really bad documentation floating around, especially in the open source space. So yeah, one of the other reasons was also to improve documentation and to find avenues to keep improving it. And we also wanted it to be a two-way street. So it's not only for connecting the potential contributors to projects or to issues that could be worked on, but also to provide visibility for the projects. Like, if you have a project and you would want to onboard new contributors, or you would have to have more involvement with some potential community, then that's also what we wanted to do. And also very importantly for us, open source sometimes get a bit of a bad rap for not being an entirely friendly environment, or to be kind of closed off or hard to break into. So we wanted to have this as a sort of an example of a project that's really, really welcoming and that makes it really simple for anyone to get involved, regardless of their prior experience, like if they have any experience in IT or in anything else, that they would feel welcome and that they wouldn't have to worry and wouldn't have to feel like, they, have to be a part of whatever, some cabal or, one of the big boys, to start contributing. So that's the motivation. But what do we do and how? Well, the basic premise of the project is really simple. We maintain a queue or a list of issues that we collect from people who are willing and able, mentors, if you will, those people who would know one or two things about documentation already and have already been involved in open source, and so they know their way around, and they file these issues, and we take care that they're really well curated, that they're well described, that there's lots of context, background, so that somebody who's reading that issue for the first time, having not had any experience with that whatsoever before, doesn't know anything about that respective project, doesn't know anything about documentation possibly, so that they wouldn't feel lost. It wouldn't be, that kind of an issue where it says, this is broken, and you're expected to fix it. So, that's a big part of it, that they would, know how and where to get started. It wouldn't be intimidating just looking at that issue. Then to support that, we try to make sure that all of those people who would be those mentors or who would be providing that guidance and who would be filing those issues, that it's not for them stopping with just filing that issue, but they stick around. They sort of shepherd that issue from start to finish, so that they're available for help, for a little bit of hand-holding of those potential new contributors, and then they, are also able to provide, friendly reviews, not dismissive, not the kind of RTFM thing, you don't know how to do a PR, and to support all of that, we've got a bunch of resources, starting with, of course, a website. Then, we hold community calls every week where people can come, ask questions, discuss topics. We hold presentations about documentation topics or open source stuff. And then there's also a discussion forum and instant messaging chat. And all of that is to foster that sort of sense of togetherness or community. And on that website, we also provide some rudimentary resources, like how to get started with very simple stuff, and so that people, even though most of that stuff is already available, they don't have to go hunting around. Perhaps they're not that well versed in I don't know, finding help or GitHub or something like that. And lastly, but also very importantly, we also wanted to make sure that we provide recognition. And fair game is like if anybody's doing that for so that they can have a line on their CV, that's perfectly fine, or just whatever for the bragging rights. But we want to provide that recognition, not only verbally, like for example during the community calls, but also on the website, providing a little badge or something like that whenever somebody completes an issue, so that there's a little something extra to strive for. And that brings me to, okay, this is just to show on the left side, that's our issue queue. On the right, that's the website that we have. Of course, I'm going to be providing links to either of those. What were the lessons learned? So we have started that about a year and a half ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, we started to think about that. And I need to mention here that the project has really been a brainchild of my friend and colleague, Graham Morrison. And when he started to pitch the idea to us, one of the main things was that we realized that it wasn't going to come easy. It wasn't going to be that simple to just put that in motion and to keep committed. But as we went through the motions, we realized that that commitment actually really was something. We really needed to make sure that we are prepared every week, for the community calls. We are prepared for curating that list of issues. We would need to go around, solicit projects to get involved, get contacts to people who would be willing and able to mentor. And also for the mentors, we also needed to make sure that they actually do stick around, as I mentioned, so that they wouldn't just dump issues into the queue and call it a day. So there needed to be a clear understanding that a part of the premise or part of the promise also is that they would be available for that help, for that guidance, and for also that encouragement, so that people would know who to turn to and they would have somebody to lean on. And then there's that a thorny issue of the corporate overlords, where I suppose every project that has some support from corporate entity, there's bound to come questions like is this really genuine? Is this just you trying to spruce up your image, or we also faced questions like is this something like you're really just lazy to do that work, and so you want to outsource it to other people? And yeah, well, it's a fair question, and of course we would very much love to do that. But as anyone who mentored in the project, or perhaps any documentation person would tell you, helping somebody to write docs is actually much more time-consuming and hard than to just sit down and do it, write the docs. So that's not the motivation, but it's a fair question. And then also, of course, we had to contend with claims that, or just even a fear, like somebody would ask us, is it okay to ask a question about a project where Canonical doesn't have any stake in it? And of course, that was the idea ever since. But there's a logo somewhere. There's a logo on the website. It says that it's sponsored by the company. So people would invariably come with those questions. But yeah, of course, we have had collaboration and mentorship from people who have no affiliation with Canonical whatsoever. Also, big projects, small projects that Canonical may down the road somehow benefit from, but there really is no real upstream involvement from the company in those projects. But they're all welcome, and that's mostly an issue of communication. We just need to make sure that first, we really communicate clearly and better, and then we keep repeating that message so that people wouldn't feel, that, oh, okay, well, this is probably not the place to ask about that because, you guys are really involved in that project. So yeah, oh, by the way, one other lesson learned, and I haven't included it here, but we decided to call it an academy, which seemed, like a really nice thing to do, but we didn't realize, because we've been involved with it, since forever, and, sort of that word, lost its meaning, where people would ask, like, well, how do I get involved? And, what do I have to do to graduate? and then we realized that, okay, well, academy, that there's more to that word than we realized. And of course, then, that graduation could be that recognition and receiving a badge or, a mention of the website. But yeah, there's no application needed, and nobody needs to ask to get enrolled, of course. But yeah, those questions have also come up. So yeah, that brings me to the end. I would very much love it if people get involved. We are always looking for new mentors who would be willing and able to become a part of that. If you would feel like you would want to help somebody to be a part of that, for us that's been one of the motivations that I mentioned there as well, even though I didn't talk about it, but we sort of wanted to pay it forward to people. Invariably, every one of us who have been involved with documentation and open source have had some help, from friends, colleagues, group, club, or something. So, if you would like to do that too, of course the doors are open. One thing I do need to mention, before we even started talking about having a website, we already had the name Open Documentation Academy, and then we have been able to score the very cool documentation.academy domain. I'm very proud of that. But it's not the main one. We normally go by documentationacademy.org. But yeah, the slides are uploaded in whatever the name of that application is for schedule. So they're there. And yeah, feel free to come to talk to me, talk to us, join us on our chat, or join our community calls. Also, of course, contributors are always welcome. But if you would know of a project, or you have a project that would want to get some visibility, that would have some documentation issues that need doing, then, of course, very much want to see you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, and of course, if you've got any questions, happy to talk to them now or outside or online.
Yeah, these are both 3 minutes for questions.
If not, that's cool. Get in touch. I'll see you online. Thank you.